Russia has deployed its newest Mi Arctic helicopter, which has become extremely necessary due to the current geopolitical situation. What kind of machine is this, and how is it related to a possible conflict? Greenland? We will talk about this new rescue story, as well as give an educational recommendation and an announcement of a scientific episode, after a brief summary of positive news. Another group of IMR-3M engineering vehicles was delivered to the troops. The Kalashnikov concern has started production of an improved version of the PPK-XX submachine gun. High Precision Systems Holding has developed and produced initial batches of multi-projectile cartridges to counter drones. In St. Petersburg, the 20-gun brig Phoenix, a replica of a historical ship being built for cadet training, has been laid down. The first serial passenger vessel of the F-2 project has been laid down. In Moscow, tests of the new unmanned boat have been successfully completed. The Tver Carriage Works has manufactured components for the first hydrogen train, and the first equipment in Russia for producing integrated circuits with a 65 nanometer topology has been developed. Last week, the newest Mi-171A3 helicopter arrived at Yakutsk Airport for testing, along with a team of specialists. The aircraft will have to perform about 50 flights in various modes to confirm the reliability of all components and systems, as well as its ability to operate steadily. With temperatures reaching minus 50 degrees Celsius, Yakutia is perfectly suited for these purposes, which is why it has long become a kind of climate testing ground. Descending. Tests have been conducted there on helicopters, Ilyushin, Il-96, Tupolev, Tu-2, 14, Tu-3, 34, Beriev, B-200, Antonov, N-1, 48 Boeings, Airbuses, and others. They did not always end successfully. For example, once at minus 48 degrees Celsius, the engine of a Eurocopter EC-130 helicopter failed. Subtitles by Dimitrorzak of Experiments. A few weeks ago, hurricane force winds at Tiksi Airport in Yakutia broke the main rotor blades of two Mi-8 helicopters on the tarmac. Our North does not tolerate mistakes, so the new Mi-71A3 is being developed under the strictest requirements. And that's not just resistance to wind and cold. This helicopter is the first Russian aircraft to belong to the so-called Offshore class. The term was not invented in Russia, since the first such helicopter was the American Sikorsky S-55. It was this helicopter that was used to supply offshore, that is, coastal oil rigs, in the Gulf of Mexico. In the late 50s and in the 60s, with the start of the oil boom in the North Sea, offshore helicopters finally emerged as a distinct class of aircraft. Their main differences are a high level of safety, increased range, emergency rescue systems, anti-icing systems, special navigation systems, reinforced landing gear, and so on. Until recently, Russia did not have its own specialized offshore helicopter, but now it does. And here is what it's for. In 2021, the first domestic offshore helicopter, Mi-71, took to the skies. A3 is the flagship version of the legendary Mi-8 family, but with improved features for working on the offshore shelf. The maximum takeoff weight is 13,000 kilograms, and the flight range with the main fuel tanks exceeds 850 kilometers. The machine is capable of transporting up to 4 tons of cargo or carrying up to 29 passengers at any time of day over land and sea. Most importantly, from the VK 2500 PS03 engine to the tip of the composite blades, everything is made entirely domestically. It was developed and created in Russia, and it became the first fully digital new helicopter, meaning it was designed in a digital environment, which makes it easier to create new modifications. And this work is already underway. As soon as the Mi-171A3 appeared, it received its type certificate in December 2022. The designers were tasked with making it even more durable and safe. In particular, for this purpose, specialists from MIFI developed a new high-precision navigation system capable of operating without satellites, even in severe weather conditions. The new algorithms use a set of data from inertial and Doppler sensors, which allows the helicopter to literally sense its movement from the metal. At the moment, preparations are underway to create a new test stand for the Mi-171A3 in order to use it to increase the lifespan of the fuselage and fuel tank under icing conditions. So we are seriously creating a real Arctic all-weather helicopter. And of course, it is needed not only for servicing oil platforms. The machine will also be useful for conducting search and rescue operations. And although this is not mentioned, it may also interest the military, since the task of ensuring the security of the northern borders is becoming increasingly relevant. And that's where the main intrigue lies. For simplicity, you can temporarily forget the term offshore and instead say that such a machine is simply a well-prepared, multi-purpose helicopter designed to operate in challenging conditions over water and endless snowy fields. The Sikorsky S-55 was actively used by the United States Army and Air Force. Here is the famous photo where it is evacuating an American F-86 pilot, whose plane was shot down by a Soviet Mikoyan Gurevich, 15, during the Korean War in 1953. However, although the photo is impressive, it was staged and used for advertising purposes. But that doesn't change the essence. The offshore Sikorsky S-55 took part in military conflicts, and later, more modern American and European models were easily adapted for the needs of the military in different countries around the world. In light of what is happening around Greenland, there is no doubt that in the event of a real battle there, such helicopters will be in high demand. Greenland is a huge piece of frozen land with complex terrain and a long coastline. It's cold here, hard to navigate, dangerous to fly, and there are no roads or enough airports. Therefore, the main burden of tactical tasks, such as rapid deployment of forces and cargo, conducting reconnaissance flights, targeting anti-ship systems or aircraft, as well as evacuating the wounded from the battlefield, will fall precisely on this class of helicopters. Both the Americans and their potential adversaries within the NATO bloc have enough of them, no matter how unusual this wording may sound for now. But in Russia, whose Arctic land area is more than twice the size of all of Greenland, there is still no mass-produced offshore helicopter of its own. The good news is that it is being developed right now. Another piece of good news is that realizing we are behind in this area, we are also focusing on the development of unmanned aviation. At the end of last year, the Polar Scientific and Production Center for Testing Unmanned Aerial Systems was opened in Yakutia. So now, in the harshest region of the country, not only airplanes and helicopters, but also drones will be adapted to the cold. As for the Mi-171A3, it is not just the first offshore helicopter, but also the technological foundation for creating a new next-generation model, which is currently tentatively called the Mi-80. It is known that it will be lighter and stronger due to the use of composite materials, will have an X-shaped tail rotor, impact-resistant fuel tanks, and even more powerful engines. But most importantly, it will become the platform for a new line of helicopters with deep standardization, which will make it possible to produce them much faster and at a lower cost.